This video is brought to you by Game Maker, the free, fast, and easy-to-use 2D game engine that helps power modern classics like Undertale, Hotline Miami, and Hyper Light Drifter. Starter templates, official asset bundles, and a wealth of tutorials are available to help bring your ideas to life. And you can export and share your game for free on all non-console platforms. But you don't have to take my word for it, I'm just some jerk. We have an actual bona fide game maker on hand.
Oh shit, that's me. Yes, I've been using Game Maker for a long time. It's probably the most powerful and easiest to use engine for making 2D games out there, suitable for both amateurs and hardcore coders, and with all the Steam and console integration stuff for when you're ready to start monetizing your hobbies. I'm using it for my upcoming smash hit game Starstruck Vagabond, which I assume will be a smash hit because Game Maker's that bloody great.
Head on over to the Game Maker link in the description to begin your game development journey today.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Windbreakers podcast. I'm Yahtzee. I'm joined by Frost and Marty.
Whoa. Speed round, hi.
Well, I had to get through it quickly because I have to tell everyone that it's the 6-month anniversary for Second Wind. Woo! Today, this very day, we've been doing this shit for 6 months.
Incredible. I can't believe
Amazing. And don't forget, if you're enjoying all the shit we're laying down here at Second Wind, you can support us on Patreon or by giving super chats. Like what Hjort87 just did as I was talking. Or just liking and subscribing, you know. That's like the bread and butter of YouTube.
Truly is. And we're gonna have a big 6th anniversary shindig later on in the month where we're gonna be hanging out, we're gonna be playing a bunch of games with you guys.
Games,
we're gonna be announcing
drinks,
all sorts of new stuff.
Self-immolation.
We got new stuff. We have old stuff. We're done with the old stuff. We're not done with the old stuff. We're still doing all the old stuff, but we got new stuff.
We are just content pipes. We just puke it out all the day. It's very uncomfortable in daily life. Anyway, on the eve of Sony backtracking on the fucking Helldivers 2 bullshit, we thought it would be an appropriate time to talk about villains in video games.
Like actually in-game villains or like game industry villains?
Well, I think that goes without saying. Fucking pisses me off. I had a Helldivers 2 review ready for this week, and I included an extra bit over the weekend to reference Sony being bastards, and then they fucking backtracked on it this morning.
And
I mean,
you just wait till Wednesday when that gets published. It'll change again. Something else will happen.
Hold on to it for when they backtrack the backtrack, and then it's like, I knew it.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep the gag in because it made me laugh. But I had to add an extra addendum to the addendum in like the end credits.
A hat on a hat.
Yeah, just don't look at the comments going, actually, Yahtzee, this was reverted, changed the whole video.
Actually,
the game's been replaced with a fucking fishing simulator now. So everything you wrote in your review is now wrong.
I'd play a little fishing simulator.
That's
now.
why live service paranoia. Like, actually, it's a whole different game now.
No, what did I review?
Yeah, that's exactly why I don't review early access.
Mm.
But anyway, we did specifically wanted to talk about video game villains and what is it we appreciate in a video game villain in a video game story.
Yeah.
And if the fact that it's a video game villain makes a difference to how we appreciate villains in non-video game sort of things.
Mm.
So, Marty,
Yes.
who's your favorite villain in video games?
That's a really hard question.
Who asked these
And
things?
I have a lot of them. But if I'm going to go with one, we'll rip the Band-Aid off right now and we'll start talking about Persona. Because I have a lot.
I fucking knew you were going to.
I could have went with other ones, but I thought it would be rude not to talk about Persona.
No. I think I know what villain you're going to bring up in Persona, and I think I agree.
Is it the principal?
Ooh, no, this is going to be tough. Who do you
Is
think?
it? I think it's going to be the first villain in Persona 5, the gym teacher.
Yes, that was who I was going to bring up.
Isn't he actually like a bit of a? Yeah.
He's a very effectively hateable villain. He's part of the reason why it's easy to get people into Persona 5 if you just get them to play through the first act.
Mm-hmm. There's different sort of core pillars of villains, and one of them is just a villain you fucking want to hate. There's something where it's like you don't even want to like find the humanity in them to try to be like, oh, I see where they're coming from, kind of thing. And there are plenty of good villains like that. But Kamoshida, or even someone like Senator Armstrong in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, is someone that you just learn to hate at their very core, and like that is the like fuel for your engine of getting through that opening of the game and being like, I want to crush this man out of existence for what he's doing.
Well, that wasn't the feeling I got with Senator Armstrong. Senator Armstrong was like, "Who is this guy?" And where can I find his biography? Because I want to support this man and listen to his podcast.
Oh no!
This is Alex Jones.
It was fucking spectacular to watch. Kamoshida's just a downright absolute bastard that only you know is a bastard, and has escaped consequence the longest time. And you get to use your anime superpowers to make him face consequences in a very natural seeming way, and it's all very fucking satisfying.
Yeah.
See, I never thought about a video game weaponizing your hatred, like just outright hatred and annoyance of a video game character, because you can't do that in like films and whatnot. Like we had the what is it, most despicable person in TV, and it ended up being Skylar of all people because
that was
she just like annoyed the viewer. You know, not really a villain. She's just annoying. Whereas in a video game, it's like you can just be annoying. That gets you through. My girlfriend's been playing through the Fallout, and you keep hearing that radio DJ over and over. Ooh, and I'm like, shut the hell up. Find him. I don't know where he is. We will find him. Yeah. So yeah.
There's a difference. There's a difference between character you most hate and character who is the villain. I mean, if it was down to character you most hate, I'd probably go for Claptrap from Borderlands, who's ostensibly someone you're supposed to like. He's got that sort of Jar Jar Binks problem.
What if he turns on you? Would you?
We're using the term villain, but I think like there's a difference between even villain and antagonist. Like all villains are antagonists, but not all antagonists are villains. Yeah.
In the strict parlance of storytelling, the antagonist is just the character working against the goals of the protagonist.
Yeah. Right. And then you have a game like The Last of Us 2 where both characters are each other's antagonist. I guess the two characters.
There's no protagonist in this game.
It just depends on who you're playing as, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Big wacky stuff. Oh my god.
Frost, who would be your go-to if you had to just name one villain?
My go-to? I mean, it's probably stuck between Vaz and Handsome Jack. Like I just like these arrogant pricks who sometimes, like Handsome Jack is just like, you're a scum, just go kill yourself already, get out of my face, go away. Whereas Vaz is like, we're not too different, you and I. And I like it when he's actually like, he's not wrong. Because at the start you go, I'm nothing like you. And at the end, you know what? I miss him. Why am I fighting this other guy? Like,
well, that is, I think Vaz gets a lot of the coverage when we talk about Far Cry 3. But as I said in my original review, I kind of liked the protagonist of Far Cry 3 more. I liked his
You're a
arc
Brody
he
boy.
goes through because, as you say, he's completely outclassed by Vars at the beginning, but by the end of it, he's become like a replacement monster in a way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Do we get that a lot in games where, there's a lot of media to where it's like, oh no, the person you're watching is not the good guy. Like, and Walter White,
Mm.
very quickly, you're like, you had a lot of outs out of this, and you didn't take any of them because you became obsessed with money and power, and so
I
you
think
are
the fact,
clearly
yeah,
becoming the antagonist here. Do we get that in games where like the character we
I
are
think,
controlling slowly does that?
I was gonna
I
say
think that
that's kind of my favorite type.
I, I think the fact that the game cannot control the actions of the player means video
Mhm.
games can like explore that in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Like when you were talking about it just then, my first thought was the sequence in Half-Life 2 towards the end, when Dr. Breen is taunting you over the cameras and the security system. But he's not, ha ha, big villain taunting you. He's like genuinely upset at you and genuinely not sure what you think you can gain from this. And he's
Yeah,
like, go, like, tell me, Dr. Freeman, what have you achieved in life besides destroying things?
yeah,
Can you name even one thing? I
yeah,
thought not. And it's true that in most this sort of thing, the villain is often the proactive figure, and the hero is just a reactive figure trying to reestablish the status quo.
yeah.
But I think in video games, there's a lot of examples of really interesting, complex nuance in video game villains, especially in like more story focused, like heavy RPG, choices matter sort of thing. Because, of course, the player character often can't take the moral high ground
Mhm.
because all they do is shoot and steal collectibles.
Yeah. Instead, take pineapples from toilets in Bioshock
I mean,
Infinite.
the entire Far Cry series has made a lot of meat out of this.
It's almost become a thing, right? Where like the
Yeah.
villain has become a selling point. Like, oh, we got Troy Baker, or we got Giancarlo
Yeah.
Esposito, or like whoever they're. I think there were rumors
So
Cillian
weird.
Murphy might be the villain in the next Far Cry or something like that. Like, it almost seems like when the MCU casts their next person, they want to get people excited because they cast some big actor.
God was doing that. You remember? Little
Yeah, Kevin Spacey.
Then they were,
Yeah, get a real villain in there.
Yeah.
Good on Call of Duty.
We went to jail for the mocap. It's so realistic, yeah.
So I guess who would be your one that you would think of, Yahtzee, if you had to?
Well, I think there's a lot of games that do nuanced villainy in interesting ways, but possibly because of that, I sort of appreciate a villain who really leans into it. A villain who is absolutely 100% aware that they're the bad guy and just is absolutely having the best time with it. Is just living their best life. And when I think of characters like that, I think of the really operatic villains. And my favorite one in that area is Pius Augustus from Eternal Darkness on the GameCube.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Voiced by someone who's clearly having a great time.
Yeah.
I am your lord and conqueror. He's like Skeletor in a sort of grown-up Lovecraftian setting, and I love him for it.
Yeah, that's great. That's also one of those villains that I like, an unpredictable villain. I like someone that has like a bit of a wild card in them to where you don't know what they're going to do at any given moment, which makes them feel a little more dangerous. I think both Bias is like that. I think Voss was like that,
I wasn't even like sure Pius was the villain until like a few levels into Eternal Darkness, because of course you play him in the first chapter of the game.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I had an offshoot where I was like, favorite villain in the character when I can play as them.
Yeah.
When
Well, at the
I
start,
can
he's like
actually love them.
he's like a normal dude. And at the end of his prologue session, he's turned into like an undead lich. And by the end of the game, he's like, as I say, Skeletoring it up.
But what if it's like, I guess the Bioshock route? Because like the first one, it's like you don't really know who's who. But then an Infinite, I mean, are we allowed to talk spoilers now?
I think we can spoil Bioshock.
Well, I think as long as
it's
as
you,
long as we
but it's
say
not you, So
as long as we clearly state the name of the game we're spoiling to give people a chance,
run.
then I think you're good to go.
I mean, I do. I think I like a bit of framing. My still favorite sort of like I am the bad guy game is Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original one, because the whole time he is just talking about like, just how it's like, oh, I respected Ayla Secura, but we still had to kill her. Like, she got us out of there. I am indebted to her, but it hurt just a little more when we shot her in the back. And he knows good and well, but it is framed as like, this is righteous and this is what we were paid to do and this is what we're gonna do. Yeah. And you're like, I am the bad guy. Absolutely. This is before I knew anything about Star Wars. It was the first Star Wars content I played, and I go, I'm the bad guy here, surely.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting because, of course, remake Battlefront 2, you literally are the bad guy at the start. You work for the Empire. You're one of their special forces types. And then you just sort of switch to the rebel side with no apparent character growth on your part, from what I can see.
That was like a Force Unleashed as well, wasn't it? You even start as Vader.
Yes, you started the game as the apprentice of Darth Vader, the secret apprentice of Darth Vader. Star Killer, which fact fans was one of the original suggested names for the protagonist of the original Star Wars.
Yeah, Luke Starkiller.
Before they went with Skywalker.
Oh,
I think that's letting the player play as a villain for a little bit. I think is a smart way of getting getting folks inside their head and being able to see if there's a power difference between them. I think there's a moment early in Final Fantasy VII. I think even in Final Fantasy VII proper, but even before the remake stuff, to where you play a flashback with Cloud and Sephiroth is in your party, and he's just so much more powerful than Cloud. And he's just one-shotting dudes, and he's got like level 3 magic, and you're like, holy shit, I don't have level 3 magic. Like, the gulf between you, feels so big, and I think that's pretty effective when done in a game.
Oh yeah, Black Ops 2. There's a little point in the middle of the campaign where you play as the bad guy, as his village is being like everything's on fire. He's trying to save his sister or his daughter or something, and then throw the flashbang in there. The whole time you're just rampaging through, getting shot, and you're like, ah. So yeah, no, that was pretty effective in that moment of like who's really it, who's not.
Yeah,
I don't know. Can you say though that he's the villain when he doesn't even believe it himself? Because I'm like, yeah, they tore up your village and they killed your sister. I could see that. Or is it just sympathetic?
Yeah, I mean, there's if there's villains who are just evil for the sake of being evil, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and then there's also villains who think they are on the right side of history. I mean, I guess going back to Persona, like in Persona 5 Royal, spoilers for the last, I guess for the new chunk of stuff at the end of Persona 5 Royal, but the like main villain in the game ends up being someone who has like a good reason for what they're doing and like wants to like remove pain from the world and is giving you this like option to live in a world where these bad things haven't happened. And it's like he's not doing it out of like I want to be in control, but he's like I don't want you guys to be feeling like this anymore. So, and there's even like a great moment there where throughout the game, every time you get ready to fight a boss of a palace, you have this thing where you like send them the calling card. It's like this really badass moment of like them getting it and be like, oh shit, the Phantom Thieves are onto me. But in this one, like the two of you are at the coffee shop, you just throw the calling card on the table and you're like, all right, well, we can't meet eye to eye on this, so we're coming at you now.
Yeah. And there is actually an option in game to side with the boss and you get an early ending.
And that early ending like shows everyone living sort of their delusional lives, but they look happy. It's almost like, I can kind of see where he's coming from. Like maybe I do want to live that life.
Because I'm not even sure it was delusion or if he'd literally just recreated reality in his his vision.
And just removed those painful moments for everyone.
Whatever happened to Bowser? Well, he was a bad guy, but then he's in the kart racing and in the Mario parties. I wouldn't invite him.
You're inside of him in some games.
Yeah, that's definitely operatic villain area.
Yeah,
but which as I say, I appreciate. I mean, me and Jack came up with a theory a while back that maybe like the first Super Mario Brothers game is the only game where it's actually Bowser like doing something evil, and for every game after that is just a sort of good-natured anniversary event where they sort of recreate the conflict with a little sort of like school sports day where where Bowser kidnaps the princess again and Mario does a sort of Olympic torch carrying ceremony where he goes through every single land in the world.
That's so
before cool. And then like liberates the princess and then everyone just goes home and says, right, we're still on for go-karting on Sunday.
Yeah, and
that's how we were going to celebrate our 6-month anniversary, is by everyone getting fired and quitting again.
What's the tie-in with like King DDD? I lose the plot on some villains. I can't tell if they're good, they're bad.
It's classic. I think it's classic Saturday morning cartoon syndrome is that if you've got an established hero-villain relationship that goes on long enough, eventually the hero sides with the villain, because the villain has to be defanged inevitably from being defeated over and over again. So the only thing he can do then to reestablish the stakes is to introduce a new villain who's even worse. And I mean, that's like Skeletor did that like 3 times.
Sure.
Jesus.
I like. How do you guys feel about groups of villains? We've talked a lot about singular villains. I think you can get a lot. You can get a lot when you have very different personalities.
The Sinister Six, the Foxhound unit from Metal Gear Solid.
Foxhound is what I was going at. Wait, what did you think I was
Foxhound? I thought you were saying Team Rocket.
Oh, we can also talk about Team Rocket. I like the two of them, Jesse and James.
Well, that's another villain that got pretty severely defanged over the course of events. But yes, your classic Legion of Doom group of villains, which is a thing that has its own sort of language in video games because of the whole sequence of boss fights throughout the course of the plot. Hi-Fi Rush would be another good example.
Yeah.
Something like No More Heroes, where you have to go through the 10 best assassins in the world.
Even BioShock. A little bit like the masters of each domain, whether it's Sander Cohen or whoever's sort of zone you're in.
I do appreciate that sort of setup. I do appreciate a sort of boss rush style of game because the bosses are usually where all the interesting character ideas are put.
Yeah.
Especially in something like a No More Heroes. And you can really take a moment to enjoy the little, like, very quirky peccadillos of each individual boss.
I think one thing games there are obviously games that do it, but a lot of games stumble in a place that other forms of fiction don't, is that they seem hesitant to ever kind of remove the point of view away from the main character and show you what the villain is up to when they're not just directly confronting you. And again, any show from Game of Thrones to Breaking Bad to even Shogun this year, anything will like be like, here's what's going on over there, and we're gonna get some time with the bad guys, and you're gonna get a little bit of depth on them. But games don't seem to do that very often. Games very much seem to want to keep the focus on the player. So interactions with the antagonist are direct sort of confrontational interactions as opposed to adding a little bit of depth. And I think that's why so many games have you the villain is kind of piped into you, whether it's Ryan, whether it's a GLaDOS, whether it's a Handsome Jack.
That's what I loved about Resident Evil 4, and that I was disappointed by the remake, because throughout the entire second half of Resident Evil 4, the villains are just constantly up your ass on your head-mounted speaker device, just taunting you and giving like really badly thought out one-liners. And Leon's not the least bit moved by any of it, and he's just countering with his own horribly thought out one-liners. And it's like, watching 2 frat bros confronting each other over a girl at a party.
Yeah.
And in the remake, they just cut all that out, and by the end of it, Leon's hardly interacted with the villain at all.
Yeah.
Where's the the operatic shit that I keep talking about?
You like flair, don't you? Well, a little flair for the dramatic. Imagine a game that
certainly do.
It rates you on how much flair you have and how dramatic you are, how much fear you strike into the hero. So you get to sort of like place the chair at a nice angle, practice your spin for when they arrive. You don't normally want to see that. Like, was it Suicide Squad, the Joker and all of his knives? Did you really want to see him placing all of these knives out before he careful?
And he's getting some feedback. Hey, Harley, can you come in here and see? Like, does this work?
Yeah, that looks like a penis.
Oh shit, it does look like a penis. Now I can't not see it
again.
Little
knife angels.
Are there mechanical things a villain can do that?
Well, as we were talking about. Well, what's one thing I wanted to brought up regarding groups of villains is that in a video game, you can take the advantage of having different villains over the course of the game with different approaches to life to explore different fighting mechanics. I mean, that's something Metal Gear Solid did very well.
Yeah.
Like in the first game, you fight Ocelot in like a small enclosed space, and then you fight the dude in the tank in the big empty snowfield, and there's a sniping boss.
Yeah, there's the weird Psychomantis thing.
Yes, there's the weird Psychomantis thing. Metal Gear Solid 3 did a lot of that as well, very well. The Sorrow fight was probably one of the highlights of that game, story-wise, for me.
Yeah.
shoot, what was it? Playing through Disco Elysium again, and I would say there's a few sort of like soft villains, and I like that in that same sense, except in a non-combat way. They are sort of like fighting your ideology. You're like, okay, how do I deal with a guy who is all about communism? Oh, how do I deal with a guy who is like just a contrarian for like just for the sake of it and all this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
But it is almost like I guess the embodiment of the different zones, like Pokemon regions and whatnot. BioShock, like you said, I think each person you fight has a different idea of what makes a utopia, or like how we got into this situation to begin with. So yeah, I do like those.
Yeah, to explore a number of different philosophical stances on a specific situation.
That being said, my favorite is still the guy who's just like, I just like it because it's fun.
Did you ever play No Straight Roads?
So like Broken Roads?
Did not.
No, not Broken Roads. No Straight Roads was that weird pseudo rhythm game where you were two colourful dudes who were in an indie band. And it had the sort of No More Heroes approach to the villains where you had to go up against like 6 different themed villains, all themed around a certain kind of music. So there was like a K-pop band that was like literally robots because they were manufactured. And there was a classical music kid, and there was the thing that we're seeing there that had this weird sort of AI musician thing going on.
Was it
sort of Hatsune Miku thing? There was like stuff in between the boss battles. Yeah, but that was mostly kind of forgettable. But I appreciated that game for its approach to the boss team style. I just think the gameplay had some issues.
That's Scott Pilgrim right there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very Scott Pilgrim-y, that whole thing.
Yeah. I also think villains are interesting when they take something. Video games are almost different in that a villain can take something away from you that is like you felt like you had. This was something that was mine, and I no longer have this. Like I'm thinking of even small things like death at the beginning of Symphony of the Night. Just strips you of all these cool abilities you have, and you're like, "Fuck, those were my things, and now I don't have them anymore." Or even like if Final Fantasy VII obviously has Sephiroth takes a member of your party out. In Persona 3, a member of your party gets killed, and you no longer have that party member anymore. And so it feels like you grow to hate these people even more because they like literally took something that was yours throughout this game.
One that stood out. Thief 2, the bad guy in there, because of the close proximity you had to him, obviously you're a thief and you're hiding from everyone, so you can see this bastard framing you and putting it all on you, and you can't respond, you can't do anything about it, and you're just like, oh, what a twisted man. Like you're eavesdropping on the church, you're hearing all this villainy going on, and you were just minding your business, but somehow they dragged you into it, and I'm like, that's just unforgivable.
Just minding business, nicking stuff.
Yeah.
Because what are you gonna do? Call the cops?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as far as mechanics go, I'm a sucker for these old school villains. I guess this mostly is prominent in fighting games. Overpowered sons of bitches. Just I cannot beat you, and if I beat you, I unlock you as a new character. Oh, I'll be there.
Sure, yeah.
Every day, 9 to 5, clocking in for another ass beating with Akuma or Montezuma or whoever it was. Yeah. Absolutely love that.
See, Marty, you were talking about villains doing a thing that affects your gameplay and makes you hate them. I don't think that makes me hate a character because possibly because this is me speaking as a game designer, I understand that such things are necessary for the creation of challenge. And if a boss creates a more interesting challenge for me, then I sort of appreciate it.
Yeah,
I hate bosses. If I hate a boss, it's usually just for story reasons, like Kamoshida in Persona 5.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like good hate and bad hate, right? There's like compelling hate that is again like fueling the engine, and that's good hate, like fucking Joffrey in Game of Thrones or something, where it's like me hating this kid is making me want to continue to get invested in this story because I want to see his
the characters you love to hate. Use the cliche.
Yeah, whereas there's some. I guess I'm trying to think of now villains that just don't work for me.
Like that's a deep cut, Eric. Accusing the Kamoshida from the DS Persona game.
Is there anyone that sticks out as just like a villain that just did not land with you? I'm not even sure if I didn't think about it beforehand, so I don't even know if I have necessarily an answer
Well,
there.
if a villain doesn't land, it's usually because the whole plot doesn't land. Like I just finished Stellar Blade last week, and I was like, none of those characters are interesting, and the villain isn't either
Yeah,
because of that.
Unfortunate.
it feels like
a
if the villain is introduced like too early as too big and all powerful, then like there
Right.
almost has to be like Frost said, I like a villain who could kick my ass, but if the thing is just introduced as a god and it doesn't feel like there's any ramp up to it, it's kind of hard. It feels so almost so foreign that it's hard to connect
I'll
with
tell
it, I
you.
guess.
Well, I guess a villain I hated in a bad way was the way they did Scarecrow in Arkham Knight. Because in Arkham
Oh.
Asylum, Scarecrow was great. He was the
Right,
highlight of the
yeah.
game.
Right.
And in Knight, they just turned him into a carbon copy of Hugo Strange in Arkham City. He was just
Yeah.
Jerry Generic, the supervillain, who just stands at the top of things going, "Ha ha ha, you can't defeat me, Batman. I have already won." Deep, emotionless voice.
Yeah.
It's funny. You've hit on I think the thing that stops me from progressing in Breath of the Wild. I show up, I come out of this tomb, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Ganon's on roids now." I'm like, "What am I supposed to do about this? Let him have it."
It just looks like a thunderstorm. Like
Yeah,
how am I
like
supposed to fight
he's
that?
so strong. He's become this like force of nature. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just a small little twink out
Which
of
is
my
why
tiny tomb.
I think it works better in something like Ocarina of Time when he's introduced as like, royalty from a distant land and he's meeting the king and you see him through the window and then he gives you that look. You're like, ooh, this dude seems a little evil. Like he's introduced in a way.
Yeah.
He's not introduced as like a giant pig monster. He's introduced as like something humanoid or something familiar and then obviously becomes something bigger.
I really liked how they did him in Wind Waker because that was sort of like bridging the human Ganondorf to the evil god Ganondorf, and he was sort of like melancholy about it. It was like, yeah, I guess I'm an evil god now. Kind of sucks sometimes. Anyway, guess we'd better fight.
There you go. I like that. Especially a nice slow introduction. Like Nick's been playing Bully. I think Gary. I think that's the main bad guy in there. As he's just slowly becoming more unhinged until eventually he turns on you, and then you don't see him. You don't see him until because he's puppet mastering. He's just pulling strings, and you're wondering where he could possibly be. I like that. I like to feel their presence. Funny enough,
I like a villain who understands their limitations.
that too.
Like, I'm not going to fight you head on. You'll kick my ass.
Yeah.
He actually says that. Yeah, that very line. Like, I'm not gonna fight you.
Is there anything visually that you like about a character's like a villain design?
Nice, thick, curvy, redhead.
I don't know.
I like a villain.
Ivy.
I like a game that pulls out a villain that kind of mirrors me.
Do you like actual mirrors? Like,
Well, technically, I mean, you have like a Dark Link. Those are always like fun.
Yeah.
I guess that's less a villain and more of just like an interesting boss encounter.
You
But
see-
boss encounters, some of my favorite boss encounters in Souls games, as much as I love a big ass dragon or like a weird fucking horse demon, is the more humanoid ones, the ones that do look familiar, like your Genichiros, your Slave Knight Gale, your
Dung Eater.
your Artorias, your Dung Eaters, the Hunters.
Oh,
in
good old
Bloodborne.
Dung Eater.
Dung
I
Eater's
love a
an
dude who just
actual-
eats it. He just eats his shit. It's like
He's
a
he's an
real
actual
big shit
villain.
eater.
Do you see?
Yeah.
You see the lore behind him? Now in Japan, they
Did it-
believe your soul is essentially in your prostate. So what he's doing is ending your cycle. He's just like you just completely cease to exist now. He's an actual weird serial killer.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. Virgil and Devil
maybe
May
eats his
Cry
food.
is a great pull as well. Chat.
A bit like standard, if you ask me. You know, just villain who's dark version of protagonist. There's like 9 Spider-Man villains along those lines.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit until Venom becomes nice, like a big old beefy Venom. That's just kind of what he
Yeah.
is.
Mm.
Although I do like a rug pull, like how in speaking of Pokemon from earlier, in Gold and Silver, when you get to the end of was it Victory Row or whatever it's called, that you have to fight your trainer from the first game. That he's like he's the final showdown, and I like that. That's like a little bit of having to confront your past. That's good stuff.
That's good. I'll tell you what, a nice standout one, Spider-Man. If you beat it, you got to be the Green Goblin. And now you're playing the whole game, but with a glider and all these other different powers. I'm
Fucking
like,
pumpkin
talk about
bombs?
the
Get out of
playability.
town.
Yeah.
Did they actually change the story? If you're
I
doing
don't
that,
remember. I want to say it's Harry, but it's been a while.
because there's games. I want to say one of the Beautiful Joe games. There was a version of it where you could just play through it as Dante from Devil May Cry, and they change all the dialogue so the story makes sense.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh shoot, that reminds me of actually Bloody Roar. Yeah, because you can play as the villains on each side, and now you're getting completely from their perspective instead.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
I mean, when you play through like Sonic 3 as Knuckles, then the Dr. Robotnik is replaced with like just a generic robot dude, I think.
That's a good one, Dr. Robotnik.
That horned up Eggman.
Oh,
Dr. Eggman.
I don't know, like how you said it with that accent. That makes me a little worried.
That's the only one he
Eggman.
has. Well,
I liked hating the Nazis in Wolfenstein. What was her name? Frau.
Yeah, they were
How
certainly
Engel?
leaning in.
Wolfenstein
They were
2?
certainly leaning into it. That game was nothing if not melodramatic.
Yeah. So let me punch a Nazi. That seems nice.
I like I do like a sort of for the a sort of depersonalized villain like Doom. You don't at any point in time go, I'm dealing with humans or anything. No, you're just ripping and tearing through hell. It's great.
Well, some of them were former humans.
Well, they wouldn't.
Yeah,
they
but at
should-
this
they shouldn't
point, we're
have
just
stood
ripping
there.
and tearing. We're just giving the big old tear.
Yeah, there's a ripping and tear conga line you probably shouldn't have queued into.
Yeah.
Shall we go to Super Chats?
Yeah, I
shall.
think they'll
There's a lot
jog
of
my
them.
memory on more.
sure.
All
villains.
right.
I'm sure
Right,
folks
everyone.
put us
Now's
on.
your chance to nominate your personal favorite villains in games. And all you have to do is give us a Super Chat.
Tom Nook.
Fucking capitalism.
Yeah. Well, capitalism was certainly the villain of Helldivers 2 recently.
Womp womp.
He's got another health bar.
Let me just switch to the funding tab. Ham Anarchy, welcome to Tip Jar.
Thank you, Ham.
First of all. And then Hjord87 gives 50 Danish kroner and says, can't catch live tonight. Please state your favorite thing about Denmark's old villain, Sweden. Most wars fought in history, if I recall correctly.
Wow, congrats.
Wrong answers are okay. IKEA Swedish meatballs.
It's a Swedish fish. Great.
Swedish fish. Yeah.
movie.
Swedish chef.
So
Lars von Trier. I don't know if he's Swedish. I don't think he's Swedish. So apologies for naming Lars von Trier.
He's definitely Scandinavian of some kind.
PewDiePie,
Yeah,
he's Swedish, you know.
Yeah. Sweden seems great. I'm going to be honest. Denmark also.
Yeah, I
I've
mean-
been to Denmark, and Denmark is great.
You all know like
Well,
7
yeah.
languages. You have walkable villages, nice biking, while high. That's crazy that you guys can function.
Scandinavia always rates pretty highly in like global happiness in most
There you
happy countries and all that.
There you go.
Yes, I'd like to live in Norway for a while, perhaps.
That'll be the
Let's
next
get
one.
to that.
Sweden.
Get to that North Sea air.
Yeah.
Zaratha gives $2 and says, happy half birthday. 6 months to go for the full one.
Oh my God. What are we going to do in November?
We should be
for our
that
first
mom
birthday?
that always calculates their child's age in months. Even
Yeah,
if it's
half
months, it's like 5 years.
Half birthdays are kind of bullshit, aren't they? It's like it's not enough to throw a party because you're giving birth to a kid. You got to have a fucking baby shower. You got to have a fucking gender reveal party now. It's
They're
just
not going to remember it either. All this effort.
they're going to wring as many parties as they can out of this shit.
I think a half birthday for your first half birthday is fine. I think a 6-month celebration is great. I think an 18-month celebration is a little crazy. 1 year from now, if we're talking about how we've been doing this for 18 months, you could timestamp this. We fucking lost in the sauce. We can't be doing 18-month celebrations.
I would argue in favor of celebrating 18 months for a child because there are so many like milestones that occur around that time.
Okay. Because they're changing so quickly, right?
Yeah,
Rapidly
first
evolving.
poop,
Yeah.
You know?
At
That's
what
like
point
first-
do half birthdays have to go, though?
I would
3 to
say
4?
after two. After
After
two,
Okay.
we like 18 months fine. Then like just yearly after that.
Gotcha. There you go.
Niras25 gives 25 rons and says, what are some twist villains in games you like? Villains that start out as good guys before revealing themselves as the baddies.
Bioshock.
Oh, that old chestnut.
That wasn't the phrase.
I don't know if there's good guys in there.
What other ones?
I guess I like Monica in Doki Doki Literature Club. Everything seems
Oh,
fine,
yeah.
and spoilers, things are not fine. I also like
Yeah,
a villain where it seems like all of existence hinges on this villain. Like fuck, like Monica could just delete this game off my hard drive. This isn't good.
Wasn't
Does
that?
Undertale have sort of things like that?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
That's sort of what Flowey does in like the neutral end boss fight. They sort of like rewrite your saves, so every time you restart the game, it just takes you straight to the boss fight, and Flowey taunts you some more.
Did you guys know Sans is named because of the font Comic Sans and Papyrus is named because of the font Papyrus?
Yes, I know that because I told you it this morning and
Can't
blew your
believe
mind.
it.
Blew my goddamn
Can't believe
mind.
it. Marty,
Did you
so
know
clever.
sans serif is called sans serif because it is without serif?
Yeah.
That fucking rushed me this morning. Let me tell you. 10 a.m. this morning blew my mind out of the back of my goddamn head.
So okay.
You're,
I think
did you go to an underfunded high school,
I
Marty?
absolutely did. I absolutely
Well,
did.
that's probably explains a few things. Fox D gives $5 and says, in 30 years of trying, gaming's never topped Kefka Palazzo as a villain. Best multi-stage boss fight, best music, best everything. Ooh.
He's
Fox
great.
D's letting his nostalgia do the talking, I fear.
He is great.
Interesting.
He is great. I don't know if I'm gonna go best everything, but having just replayed Final Fantasy VI, he's great. Right? Like the first couple hours of the game, the dude fucking poisons the water well of a whole town. Everyone in town fucking dies, including the wife and child of one of your characters. This dude's just straight
Fucking
evil.
poison. Yeah.
Yeah, they have some crazy poison. I don't know how much poison it was, but it had to be a lot of poison.
Evil clowns are the best.
Ordinate.
Just look at Joker throughout the entire
Yeah.
Arkham series.
Joker's great.
What about when the villain's the narrator, like Darkest Dungeon? Because that cool sounding, awesome, kick-ass June Moon or whatever his name is, getting you through it. He's just trying to get you to kill him, essentially.
I like. There's this indie game. One of the 10,000 indie games coming out this week. It's called Crit Master, and that seems like it has like a scary devil man who's your narrator. And I'm intrigued to play this game just because I want to know what this devil man's all about. Crit Master. He looks very scary.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ham Anarchy gives 69 Norwegian kroner and says, morally grey villains are overused, but being able to understand their motivations is a plus. Otherwise, the best villain is one you want to defeat.
Who's the bad guy of Dark Souls?
The end of the world.
Oh, entropy.
Yeah, entropy itself.
Honestly, at the end of Dark Souls 3, that is, yeah.
Pretty much every boss is like a dude who wanted to do great things and was corrupted by their own ambition.
Yeah.
And then you have to fight the sad shell that remains. That's every boss.
And they still kick your ass, yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Salty gives 10 PLNs and says, I like my villains with motivations and goals.
Yeah. Give them a little depth. Give them a little depth. They don't need depth. But if,
is there ever a villain in a game that's just like, I'm just here?
Then again, the Joker, the classic example of the villain who's just in it for the villainy.
Yeah. The wild card.
An agent of chaos, as they say.
They do say that.
Robonop the Snob gives €10 and says, I want a villain with Frost's voice, Yahtzee's wit, and Marty's cynicism, and a good song to boot. So I'm going with Danganronpa's true villain. If Frost sucked up helium before talking, they'd match.
Monokuma?
Oh, the little bear. Yeah. I still haven't finished
the true villain. That's the villain at the start. My cynicism?
You're cynical compared to last week's episode. Yahtzee was very optimistic and happy and smiling.
Oh.
Well, Ross Scott was there.
Yeah.
I was in a good mood because I was talking to Ross Scott.
Yeah. See Ross every day.
Fucking Marty again.
Yeah.
Filling my screen. Hawk Abridging gives $4.99. Says, speaking of nuanced villains, I finished Will Leave the Galaxy on Friday. Great conclusion, and was nice to see my theory from Destroy for Cash came true. I'm glad you enjoyed my book, Hawk Abridging. Everyone else should buy it too. It's called We'll Leave the Galaxy for Good and is available on Audible right now. And there's Danganronpa now. And a character with a disquietingly short skirt.
Maybe this summer you members of chat can join our Patreon at a certain tier and vote on Yahtzee's summer game, and maybe it could be Danganronpa this time.
Well, that's
Or
up
maybe
to
it'll be
them,
Chrono
isn't
Trigger
it?
Again. What if it's just Chrono Trigger again? That'd be great.
Well, obviously, that's not even going to be in the running, is it? Because that would be
Yeah, but
silly.
But
I
that
mean,
game's so fun.
It's the public's choosing.
Where was I? Zoratha gives $5 and says, Maleficent. She's the mistress of all evil and what? She's not from games. She's in Kingdom Hearts, but she sucks there. How about Kefka then?
There you go.
That's two.
That's two for Kefka.
Oh.
Proud of you,
Yeah.
Kefka.
But
Kingdom Hearts gets a
evil
little
clowns.
tricky. I was trying to even think of like who my favorite villain in Kingdom Hearts is, and I'm gonna be honest, I can't keep them all straight. There's a Xehanort. I think he's the main dude. I don't know what his deal is. There's too many games, too many villains.
Well, it's all Disney villains, isn't it? Who's your favorite Disney villain?
No, it's
Captain
not
Hook?
all Xehanort. No, they're now all these original characters, dudes in black robes and fucking mirror images of people. Who's my
Yeah,
favorite
they
Disney
all
villain? I don't know.
they all sort of blur together for me.
I like Scar because I like Jeremy Irons quite a bit. Scar the Lion from The Lion King.
You like your gay-coded classic Disney villain?
I absolutely do. Holy moly, Scar is wonderful.
That's just a Disney
Yeah.
villain. Yeah.
That's just a Scar.
Yeah.
I think a Scar Ursula back to back. Hachi machi.
Yeah,
Jafar.
I think there's a super chat further down the line that will address this. We can talk about it more.
Beautiful, wonderful.
Flixie for £99 and says, hello to the guy who recognised my Second Wind Founders shirt at Uffington Scarecrow Festival yesterday. Don't ask. Keep up the awesome work, everyone. I'm glad to know Uffington has a festival in celebration of my favourite Batman villain, Flixie Big.
Except in Arkham Knight. We do not
Yes,
talk about
except
I
Dark
don't
Knight.
like him.
what is
I'm scared.
Uffington?
What-
I think it's a town in England.
I clicked it and it's literally just a Scarecrow Festival.
Yeah,
It seems
Scarecrows.
early in the year for Scarecrow festivals. Don't seem like they should be in May. They seem like they should be in October.
Do they get Cillian Murphy in as the keynote speaker? That would be the coup, wouldn't it?
This guy. I'm scared of being noticed by the apparel that we wear, like our own merchandise.
I'm amazed. So the things that are at the Uffington Scarecrow Festival include stuff like ice cream, dog shows, welly wanging,
What?
bric-a-brac stalls, and fire engine and police car with a little note saying that unless emergencies occur. So it seems like the town has like one police car and one fire.
Yeah.
Like listen,
Sounds
they're
about
not going
right.
to be here if something starts on fire.
Would you like me to explain welly wanging to you?
Please do.
Please do, yeah.
It's a game in
Don't
which
show
you
me.
attempt to throw a rubber boot the furthest. Rubber boots known colloquially as wellies in the United Kingdom.
You're just chucking your boots.
Just chucking a welly. Because they're basically boomerang shaped.
Does it have to come back? Oh,
No,
there it
you
is.
just- you just-
Look
you
at
just,
that. You're
uh,
just flinging your boots.
It's just like caper tossing. Whoever throws it furthest wins.
Of
Phenomenal.
course. Just like caper tossing.
Phenomenal.
All right.
They fly pretty well, wellies.
I'm learning
Anyway.
a lot.
Fungus Finder gives $2 and says Anti-Spiral was cool, but Lord Genome was cooler. Oh, don't know who either of those characters are. I'm assuming they're anime villains.
Anti-spiral.
Lord Genome. Lord Genome.
Simon versus Gurren Lagann.
Yep, called it.
What's that?
That's an anime. I watched one episode of it and then I stopped watching and people got angry at me.
Oh,
And the more they got angry at me, the least likely I am to continue it.
Sophie just wants to keep
Real
Just his
catch
nose.
22.
just his nose poking out just there. Today. Fox D gives $5. Says some of my fave villains are ones that come from emergent gameplay. The rival team's cleanup hitter in a baseball game, or bears in medieval dynasty.
Okay, and Ruined Bears and Elden Ring. Those are
I
the
like
ones.
the idea of people playing sports games enough to where they hate a specific player because like that player fucking owns them. Like that sounds great.
That's probably how people get into sports.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hawker Bridging gives $199 and says Jack from Puss in Boots 2, my favorite over-the-top villain. Well, that's
Puss
not a
in
video game, Hawker Bridging.
There
Maybe
might have
they
been,
made
there
it
might have been
into
like a
a
Game Boy
video game.
Advance like port or something.
Wait, Jack,
so that was a-
Last Wish?
That was a
no.
yeah, that was a really recent movie, wasn't it?
That was a good movie.
No, that was Puss in
Like-
Boots 3, like Last Wish,
I
right?
think that was the third one. Yeah.
I actually don't know. That was the only one I saw. It was very good.
So
Okay.
good.
Shanks7170 gives 100 rupees and says, finishing college is making me very anxious over my future. And watching you guys has helped a lot in dealing with it. Thank you all so much for it.
Oh, thank you so much, Shawshank. That's
You'll
awesome
get
to hear.
through it and
Yes.
you'll wonder why was I even anxious to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah, like we were anxious about breaking off from the Escapist, and now we've made it.
You know what they call Puss in Boots in the UK?
Oh my God.
What?
Not
Puss
the
and
Puss and Wellies.
Puss in Wellies.
Yeah,
That joke would have worked if I would have said it one super chat earlier. I waited too long.
Wellies are a very specific kind of boot.
Like a Doc Martin?
No, it's like a
No,
galosh.
Yeah, a galosh is a welly, basically.
Mm.
A rain boot, a gum boot, whatever you call it. Still Otaku gives 5 Canadian dollars and says, has a villain ever ruined a game or a series for you? Xehanort from Kingdom Hearts annoys me because of how feeble his ideals were when he got beaten.
Look at that.
Well, I already said
back.
Scarecrow and Arkham Knight.
A villain ruined a game.
No, not sure, but I do dislike whenever like I clearly just whooped his ass, but then the cutscene comes through and I was the one that was losing.
Yeah, I hate that. That's
Yeah.
another thing that happens in anime games a lot.
Ruined it. See, I wouldn't say Far Cry 3 was ruined by the bigger villain, but I do wish it had ended at Vaz.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could say a similar thing about the first Bioshock too. Is the final encounter of the game is very dumb.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it? Out of everything, all this like subterfuge and all this sneakiness, and then in the end, it's just I guess like Joker and Arkham
It was a lot.
Asylum,
it
wasn't
was-
it? He's just a big
Yeah,
brute.
like Fontaine final boss fight was like a last minute change, I think. I think originally the game was supposed to end not long after the Andrew Ryan encounter, but the publisher said, you gotta have a final boss fight.
Dumb.
So, yeah. I agree, because the whole way he's characterized all the way through that game, it doesn't make the slightest bit of sense that he'd suddenly start getting high on his own supply.
Yeah.
Ernesto gives $5 and says, I think the modern From Software games, except AC6, do suffer a bit from not having a villain. Bosses are more like roadblocks. Any thoughts?
Well, that's the thing is like depending on how you view it, everyone's a villain. Everyone could essentially
pretty
you
much.
could be the villain. So
So, like, yeah, the world is dying. We're all just fighting to be the last thing standing. And then we're just going to go to sleep and die, I suppose.
yeah, that's the thing. You're somebody's bad guy, like always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if there's like more depth to them, you kind of usually, or I personally don't get it on an initial run of the game, because I kind of need to either go through it again or watch like one of Vati's videos or Iron Pineapple or any lore master and be like, so what's the deal with all these characters? And then I hear about them like, oh damn, yeah, they sound pretty deep. I did not get any of that on my first playthrough.
I do like having to work, sort of to get rid of the villainy. While maybe I'm questionable, be it Dark Souls, be it Suicide Squad. I like the premise, not the game. And then Cuphead, that's a funny one where it's like, we can get you out of this contract, but you got to be slaying people until they buy some time, you know?
Yeah.
Like, all
Stop
right.
gambling. It's it's all about the horrors of gambling.
Walk away.
Mattia Gagliardi gives €5 and says, this is in all media, but I hate when a calm secondary character reveals to be the villain and goes full cartoonishly evil mode.
Well, see, the
I'll tell you what
opposite of
sprung-
that is you get those characters that are just like, yes, let's help them. Yes. Just
Yeah.
blatantly plotting
Well,
behind your back.
I'll tell you what leapt to mind when you talked about going full cartoonish evil, Mattia Gagliardi, is Zelda Twilight Princess. Remember the dude in the weird armor suit?
Zant?
Who's like this calm Darth Vader villain for the longest time?
Yeah.
And then suddenly turns into whatever the fuck was going on there. Like
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd at the end of Who Framed Roger Rabbit mode.
Yeah. I feel like Zelda kind of has a main villain problem as a whole. As I obviously love the series, one of my favorite series ever, but I don't know. A lot of times it kind of fumbles villains to me. It has really good boss fights, or it has
Yeah.
like a really good like. But by the end of I'm fighting Ganon, I guess. But like I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
hate
it's
Ganon. He's just kind of in the way.
Yeah, just sort of. They always feel sort of like handcuffed to the whole Ganon has to be the final boss thing. So
Yeah.
the temporary villain has to stand aside eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Liza P kind of had that issue a little bit with their multiple endings, where you're just like, okay, everything else in context kind of only makes sense with this one ending, right?
Mm.
Metroidvanias in a way kind of do that too, where they'll have these characters that are almost like, okay, what was with all the weird, sinister laughing? It's like, oh, it's because it's a different ending. That makes sense. Like you were actually the bad guy if I had gotten to the third ending.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a little plug and play there.
Dr. Theo gives $2 and says, favorite villains are the ones that are gay coded. As
Not
in
wrong.
every single Disney villain from the 90s. Yes.
Yeah. A lot of great anime villains.
So good.
How do you feel about a villain that is a character overcoming something inside of themselves? I don't want to bring up Persona again, but I'm going to bring up Persona 4 this time. I like that each of the villains along the way is a character's shadow. That is a character having to come to terms with their sort of with their flaws or their fears or their
it's
baggage.
Certainly one way to gamify a fairly standard narrative character arc. The classic part of the hero's journey, the overcoming of the self. For some reason, I'm thinking of the dude from Condemned 2, who's like the embodiment of your alcoholism. I think they literally call him the alcohol demon. And you have to have a sort of symbolic boss fight with him at one point.
The hooch demon. Well, how do you feel? Speaking of
Celeste,
embodiments, oh yeah, like badass. Is that what they call her? No,
Celeste.
Battleline.
Yeah,
bad Battleline.
You're overcoming your own depression and alcoholism.
Yeah. How do you?
Yeah, Celeste.
Yahtzee. We haven't done the traditional bingo card filling out of talking about Silent Hill yet. How do you feel about Silent
Hill?
Cheers.
See, I don't really classify anything in Silent Hill 2 as a villain. For the reasons you describe. I mean, James Sunderland, it turns out he did a bad thing, but I don't think I'd say he's the villain of the piece.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't think Pyramid Head is either, because he's literally just doing what James's subconscious says to do.
He's just a janitor.
Yeah, basically.
It doesn't have a clear cut, whereas Silent Hills 1, 3, and 4 definitely have clear cut, like, oh,
yeah,
this is who the bad guy is in this.
I do like how Silent Hill 4 does it, because like you're in the villain's head from the beginning, almost literally.
Yeah.
In contrast to Silent Hill 2, where like your subconscious is being reflected by the form Silent Hill takes. In Silent Hill 4, it's based around the subconscious of the villain rather than the protagonist.
Yeah.
So you're
you even seem as a little kid.
Sullivan.
Like, what if we kill this little kid? I'm not condoning kid killing, but what if we kill this little kid? Just one. Just hear me out.
Just what? Could you bring yourself to strangle baby Hitler?
Sure. No, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, you could strangle baby Hitler?
Sure.
I'm of the idea where like that's as stable as a timeline gets, the one with Hitler in it, and it's only worse if you had. So
what if we do this? What if we train a baby assassin to kill Hitler, and then it's less weird because the baby is killing someone their own age?
Just baby genius now.
So you just train a baby to like climb up and sit on another baby's face until they suffocate?
Little Jason Bourne.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Oh, nice.
Jason
Bourne. Jason Bourne yesterday. The Piss Bandit gives $10 and says, I like Dr. Wily a lot. He's not the most complex villain or has a very compelling reason to be a villain, but him being responsible for everything going to shit in the Mega Man timeline is great.
Got a good look. It's got a good villain look. It's got the big eyebrows. It's got a big mustache.
Yeah.
Creates a bunch of robots to throw at you.
How I feel about revenge? You killed my father. So now in this iteration, in the sequel, I will now chase you down and try to kill you.
So like the literal Last of Us 2 villain.
Yeah.
Abby.
I mean, revenge is like a potent motivation, right? In
Well,
any
you know
story.
what they say: before you seek revenge, dig 2 graves.
Think about it. If I point a
Overachiever.
finger at you, I'm pointing 4 at me.
Who points like that? Who points like this?
It's very hard to point them all back at yourself.
Who was it
I
that
mean, I think
convinced us?
it's
Why I point like that?
I think it's very easy to portray a revenge-seeking character as not quite having thought things through, and it's sort of acting off of emotion, because they are. I mean, there's not. I mean, you know, 2 wrongs don't make a right, and all that.
Yeah, and when you're that angry, you're not thinking clearly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd want someone who killed your dad to be brought to justice,
Mhm.
but to want to strangle them to death with your own hands—that's where you've probably gone a little bit off the deep end.
Are we the baddies? Or not?
That's
I'd
the end
say
of Black
so.
Ops.
I mean, yeah, I mean, no one's ever killed my dad, so I can't really
Can't relate.
relate.
Alright.
Dr. Theo gets $2 and says, maybe the true villains are the friends we made.
Those are fun. A nice, like, just swap reveal. It was me.
Was Agatha all along?
I would like a game where, like, you kind of imagine the Nemesis system, but it goes off of how you treat your friends too. And so, like, they start to maybe turn on you.
Right.
Like, you treat one guy as a pack mule, and he's
Yeah.
like, fuck it, I have your weapons now. Why won't I just use them?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
You hit on one of their girlfriends at a mutual friends party, and they start working with the villain. Who knows?
Ooh, now that could be interesting. Where like they're feeding them information,
Yeah.
so now like it's messing with your
Well,
plans and all this stuff.
you shouldn't have banged my wife
Yeah, justified.
just because you could. Witticism gives $5 and says, big fan of the dragon from Dragon's Dogma 1. Spoiler, he offers a deal, but he's so smarmy you want to kill him. And that starts the apocalypse. Whoops.
I don't trust any dragons, if I'm being honest. I don't trust a single goddamn dragon.
Just Spyro for me.
I trust Spyro, never mind.
He was
I trust-
raised by
there's one dragon.
dragonflies. You know.
Yeah.
Would you trust Puff the Magic Dragon?
Sure, yeah, he lives by the sea. Frolics in the autumn.
Oh, I see. Well, we know he can afford the priciest real estate then.
Yeah, but you know when fucking climate change is coming for that house. It's gonna sink right into the ocean.
Ah, you think he lives in Florida? Puff the Magic Dragon has a share house in Miami.
What a city.
Timeshare, sorry, that was the word I was after. Thank you. Alex Armstrong gives $5. Says, sometimes I want a complex villain with a detailed backstory, and at other times a simple 90s douche going, I like crime and money, is all I need for a fun time.
Yeah, I don't mind an occasional just real dumb villain. Just real dumb villain who's just like a dog that's excited about getting what it wants.
Oh, did you ever play Cave Story?
I did play Cave Story, yeah.
I was thinking of the suitcase boss villain.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, who's just really dumb.
Yeah. Give me a nice dipshit to fuck.
Jumbly Wobbly gives $2. Says, come on, yards, villain, talk at no Undertale. Tusk.
You mentioned Flowey.
We did talk
Yeah,
about.
I told everyone about
Undertale.
Papyrus.
We could be the bad guys. You know, it's got everything in there.
And then, like, the established bad guy becomes eventually terrified of you.
Yeah.
Because you're so much worse than him.
I accidentally started a genocide run and didn't know.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
You know, well, that surprised me because you kind of have to work at it to get the genocide run.
Do you? I swear
have to
I was trying to talk him down, but I kept getting the same options. So I was like, I guess I'll just hit him. And then I went, well, I've hit the other ones. I might as well hit the rest.
Well, you can only get the genocide run if you hang around an area long enough for random encounters to stop happening. Because then, yeah, because
I was grinding.
I was.
Because if you grind for long enough, eventually it'll do like the random encounter noise, and then like a caption will come up saying, "But nobody came."
That's pretty smart. That's a pretty. I know that game is full of that stuff, but that's just a really smart subversion of how you normally think in RPGs.
Yeah, like games that present themselves as spreadsheets, I do see as number go up. So, whoopsie.
Yeah, because then like that's how you get to the genocide run. You literally kill everything until there's nothing left.
I'm more surprised we haven't mentioned GLaDOS Portal.
Oh yeah, well they're good because they're funny.
They're funny. They're dramatic. while being
Yeah, they become
monotone.
in hindsight with 2, they become tragic,
Mm.
while
Anyway.
also still being insane. Yeah.
Eric Weikart, the
Mhm.
editor,
TV's
the
Eric.
producer rather, comes along with 50 arses and says, an idea to celebrate 6 months of Second Wind. Let's watch Disney's Beverly Hills Chihuahua trilogy with Yahtzee. Please no, these aren't good.
Those are terrible.
Well, I did float an idea ages ago that maybe we could do a podcast where I watch a movie and then talk to Darren and maybe someone else about it.
Could you recover from the 3 hours of not gaming?
Yeah.
We'll find you something that's a tight 90. A tight 90 minutes.
I feel like it would be pretty easy to squeeze like a 90-minute movie into the weekly schedule somewhere.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on Austin Powers?
Well, I've seen Austin Powers. I didn't always not watch movies.
How good is Austin Powers? I think about Austin Powers a lot. It's great.
Well, sure, the first one's pretty good, but then they just wanted to make that film again 3 times.
Yeah.
But fat bastard.
But more British every time.
Counterpoint.
Well, there is a joke I appreciate in Austin Powers 2, where you hear like they're on the moon base, and you hear like a PA voice saying something like, "All personnel evacuate from Moon Unit Alpha and Moon Unit Zappa." Because Zappa isn't really a Greek letter, but it is the name of Frank Zappa's daughter, Moon Unit Zappa.
Oh.
That's clever.
Yes. Frank Zappa's daughter, he literally named her Moon Unit.
Poor thing.
That's a terrible. Yeah. Why would you?
That's neglect.
Why would you do that?
Well, firstly, his name's Frank Zappa, and I think that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about him.
Yes, that's true.
Why double down?
RoboNop the Snob gives €5 and says 40 minutes in, and Yahtzee hasn't mentioned Pyramid Head yet. We mentioned it after you sent that super chat.
He's not a bad guy. He's just a social worker. He's
just an aspect of James's own subconscious that's doing the job that's been assigned to him.
He sees himself as
which is why it's so dumb that they keep bringing him back for future games as fan service.
Yeah, he does not exist without James.
What if that's his furry?
Like his sexy nurses too.
Pyramid Head's his persona.
Look, there's a lot of complex lore I could go into here, but I don't want to drag things out too much. But there's a reason why he looks like he does, and there's a reason why James imagines his brutal, ultra-masculine subconscious self as him.
He saw the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid once.
If you could go back in time, would you kill baby Pyramid Head? How would you even strangle him? He's got a whole goddamn pyramid on his head.
He's got a neck. He's got to get under it.
Well, I guess you just have to give James Sunderland a lobotomy, because as we established, he is just born out of James's subconscious. Folks, missed one. Conflux Fighter gives $2 and says, "Handsome Jack," which wasn't much of a super chat, but it was their very first one, so let's all encourage him.
Is Handsome Jack the antagonist of all 3 Borderlandses?
No, just the second one, I think.
There you go.
Well, yeah. Just number 2, and he hates you the entire time, and he's smarter and cleverer and more handsome than you, but it's all a facade.
I think in Borderlands 3, the villains were influencers.
Yes, they were. They were streamers.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. The true villains.
Fox D gives $5 and says, half birthdays get a remake stroke rebirth stroke encore version when you're 16 and a half and can get a driver's license in Massachusetts.
Be 16 and a half in Massachusetts?
That's really seems really dumb and arbitrary. Why is that?
It's too close. 16 is too close to 15. We want you well over the line.
I blame the Kennedys. They had something to do with it.
Can you imagine you got into an accident? 16 and a half.
Raising it up by 6 months.
Man, I think you have to be 17 to get a driver's license in England.
Yeah, but you can also drink by then.
It's 18. You can have sex by then. Age of consent in England is 16. For the longest time, the heterosexual age of consent was 16 and the homosexual age of consent was 18. And that only got changed relatively recently.
Strange habit I'm not going to get into. But yeah, are you sure about this? Are you sure you're sure? That's weird.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Right. No one could really justify the difference between ages of consent except, knee-jerk conservative wattishness.
It's a strange compromise, sure.
Yeah. Diane Spencer gives... Oh, missed one again. Verbuchte Herr der Dunkelheit gives €5 and says, Yahtzee, have you ever considered doing unique 5 in your yearly top-bottom bland? Like the opposite of bland, unique doesn't equal good or bad. It's enough of a pain in the ass just doing 15 bloody games.
Oh, that just promotes novelty, doesn't it? Like, ooh, you control this game with just your elbows.
Yeah, I mean, that's a gimmick.
What is the most unique game either of you have played this year?
Unique? Oh, God.
Children of the Sun, possibly?
Yeah.
Possibly for this year, yeah. That or Yellow Taxi.
Yellow Taxi.
Yeah.
Balatro seems kind
Yeah.
of
Actually, that'll do it. Yep.
Yeah.
That'll do it right there.
Quite a lot of uniqueness going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just you wait
Persona
till Star
3
Trek
Reload.
Vagabond comes out.
Star Trek Vagabond.
That's a unique approach to cozy life sim gameplay that I'm
But
sure
Yahtzee,
you
when
will
can we
all
play
enjoy.
it?
You can play it on May 24th, which is its announced release date,
Incredible.
and also happens to be my birthday. That's why we picked it.
Oh my god.
So now you can all get me a birthday present by buying my game.
Oh my god.
I won't be at your party because I'll be playing your game.
Go like and subscribe on.
That's fine. I hate parties.
Same.
I just want to sleep in and eat cake on my birthday. Diane Spencer gives £50. Speaking
People's
of my
Princess.
bullshit, says, thank you, Yahtzee, for such a fantastic book. I've already listened to it twice. Your best book yet. That would be We'll Leave the Galaxy for Good, you're talking about, Diane Spencer, which is available for Audible right now.
Do you think it's your best book? Do you have a favorite book of yours?
Yes, it's always my most recent book that I've written to encourage more sales.
What about, do you have a favorite review of yours?
Well, I do like to brag occasionally that there's a couple of very glowing reviews of a couple of my books on Goodreads written by Patrick Rothfuss.
Wow. He's an author.
I know.
Writes his own books.
He's a pretty famous author.
I've read his book. I've read a book.
What's he do?
And he's praised my books on Goodreads. So yeah, I must be really good at writing books.
What's he write?
He wrote the King
Name of
Killer
the Wind?
books. Yeah, Name of the Wind.
Yeah.
I've read Name of the Wind. I haven't read any more because I kind of wasn't really vibing with it.
He's going to take
you
his
know,
review back.
But other people seem to like him.
You know where he's from? Madison, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's own. The big three. Wisconsin. Me, Jack, Patrick Rothfuss, and Donkey, the big four.
Macaulay Culkin.
And Willem Dafoe, the big five.
And Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer. The Sinister Six.
Man, Patrick Rothfuss looks distractingly like Brian Blessed these days.
Hashtag Brian Blessed. I don't know who that is.
He played the Hawkman from Flash Gordon.
Scram!
You know, Gordon's alive. That guy.
I just caught like 20 minutes of Flash Gordon on TV yesterday.
Which one? There was the movie.
The more modern, the Queen one. The Queen soundtrack one.
Yeah, that one. That's what I'm
The
talking
Queen's
about.
English, yeah.
That's the one Brian Blessed's in.
There you go.
AZK gives $5 and then message retracted. Ooh.
Oh.
Mysterious.
I have it
Ram.
down here, though.
Do you want to embarrass them with it?
I mean, it's totally fine. Yeah. Is this illegal if I say it?
They retracted it. I don't know.
I don't know if they retracted it. So
They didn't retract it in time for me to grab it.
Well, you can read it out if you
Well,
want.
it was very nice. I want more games like The Witcher that let you role play as an expert in a field doing your job. I love things about people being good at their jobs.
Well, there's a lot of simulator games in that way too. Unfortunately, they simulate you being bad at these jobs. So yeah, I'm with that. It's difficult to gap that mastery.
Well, it wasn't relevant to the theme, but thanks anyway, okay?
Maybe that's why. You've embarrassed him, Marty.
Oh, I shouldn't have read it. I'm sorry.
Alex Armstrong gives $10. It says, Bowser's a classic villain. Yes, he's one-track minded with kidnapping Peach, but at least his motivation never wavers and doesn't mind being called a villain. Robotnik, though, all he wants is a theme park.
Who's the most recent villain icon in gaming? Because I was saying the other day, there's no more mascots. Are there no more villains too?
No.
Like the closest anything comes to a mascot is each big IP releasing their own things, like Genshin. All of those are mascots for Genshin players and Apex Legends, all that kind of stuff.
I'm going to go down I'm going to go down all my recent
Like-
episodes and tell you the one that has the most memorable villain in it.
Final Fantasy still? Sephiroth?
80s?
He's just your dad.
He's
just
kind of a knob.
He's a knob.
He's kind of a knob.
Would it be one of the Far Cry guys, I guess? Vaz? That's 2013. Don't you give me that.
That's so long ago. There's got to be something since then.
We got Lady D here. Was she naughty?
She was only in the game for like an hour and a half.
Mr. Scratch from Alan Wake.
This Scratch is pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you mention it. I'm going down all my recent reviews, and if it's not like an established IP, like Mortal Kombat or Suicide Squad, then yeah, there isn't really an iconic villain in any of these games.
There's your next semi-Rambo right there. Literally no more heroes, no more villains.
Oh, no more villains.
Well, I was looking for a topic to write up this week.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps that'll do.
Incredible.
Big
We've done
lady
that.
from Resident 8. No.
I mean, Resident Evil, the thing about Lady Dimitrescu is everyone liked her how she looked, but like she didn't really have anything going for her.
No, she was like the first area boss. She was like
the
gone
first
for like
area
most of the
boss.
game.
She did the following you around thing just less interesting than other characters.
Yeah.
People were just
sort
worked
of-
out.
Sort of speed walked after you like she was cornering you at the Walmart to demand to speak to the manager.
Oh, God. Uber Karen. Well.
Funny that.
It's got him thinking. Look at him. He's like, wow, no villains.
Divorce in It Takes Two. Marital strife is the true villain.
Yeah, a lot of divorce emotes are coming out.
Yeah.
Dementia now. And
I liked Odin in God of War Ragnarok. I thought his performance was very good.
George Carlin, Odin.
Oh, God, no, I can't not see that. He's just Toby Ziegler from The West Wing. He's just that dude.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I guess Bomb Rush Cyberpunk had a villain.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't really remember it.
See, all of the things with actual original villains, the villains tend to be either, vaguely redemptive figures. Like even like Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom as like a cartoon villain who's like Elon Musk, the mad scientist, but he sort of turns good at the end.
Yeah. What was the last one that's just operatic, commits to it, goes for it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Anyway.
Off we go.
Fill My Ass Up gives 50 Norwegian kroner and says, I kind of think the best villains are the ones you feel sorry for. Like their actions are a result of desperation and their defeats stick longer.
Yeah. I get behind that.
Okay. Laura, welcome to Sponsor Free Videos.
Thank you, Laura.
And then Laura gives a $10 super chat to say, Big Boss for Metal Gear MGS3, underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Wait, are you talking about The Boss or
Not-
Big Boss?
Well, the boss is the Metal Gear Solid 3, but the
I mean,
boss.
the whole reason Big Boss is called Big Boss is because he surpassed The Boss.
Oh, Laura had much later has a super chat that just says I meant Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, okay.
Metal
Well, he
Gear Solid
shows up
great.
right well, Big Boss only shows up right at the end, and then he just drops dead.
Who's this one? Eric's showing. Oh, too
That's
late
Big
now.
Boss. The one with the eye
Not
patch is
him,
Big Boss.
The lady in the flowers that you're fighting.
That's
You're
the
meant
boss.
That's
for-
the boss.
That's just the
which
boss.
isn't a
Okay.
villain,
Yes.
or like it's like probably the most tragic boss fight.
Yeah.
Good. Metal Gear is great.
Uh,
I just want to say it. Oh, Higgs. Remember Troy Baker in Death Stranding? That was like 6 years ago. I don't even know why I brought that up. I'm trying to think
Okay.
of recent ones.
AZK gives $5 and says, Is the Sony thing an example of an industry that will learn anything tee-hee-hee? Referring to Sony attempting to mandate linking PlayStation Network accounts for Helldivers 2, and as of yesterday, backtracking on that after massive fan outcry.
Mm.
Well,
know what they're
all I'm going to say about it is wait and see now, because Sony have shown their true colors.
Oh.
They're just waiting for everyone to forget about this so they can try their next bullshit money-making scheme.
That'd be interesting, especially if it didn't if they don't wait too long. It's also next week.
Yeah. I mean, traditionally they do this, and there'd be the outcry, then they'd like backtrack on it, but then someone else would do it, and everyone was too exhausted from the last outcry, so it just becomes normalized.
Yeah. Or the compromise is something that's still worse off than it was a week ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Eister gives 360 somethings and says, "Here's to the 6th month of Second Wind and for many more to come." Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
you so
you know
much.
how you can help with that. You can subscribe to the Patreon by
You
going to
just gave you money.
patreon.com/secondwind. Oh, I'm talking generally now.
Oh.
You know how you can
Fuck him.
ensure that there are many more months to come is subscribe to the Patreon, like smart people like Mark Eister, who gives us money. We ain't running a fucking charity. We've got salaries. I've got to feed my child, Jamate.
Just,
He likes
gotta
his
get him-
ice cream.
you gotta get him some Wallies to wag. Was that what it
Oh,
was called?
God. Yeah.
Wellies. Wellies to wang.
I'm here wagging.
Wellies to wang. What happened? Where'd Frost go?
Where'd Frost go? Frost, come back.
Miss you,
What
Frost.
just happened?
You're back! Mazel
There he
tov.
is.
Lost
Man,
it.
Eric, you were quick on the draw to turn that into 3 people. That was really impressive.
I lost me, Wally. Or what was it?
I lost my
Me
Wally
waggy.
wag.
Welly wang.
Lost my poly.
Yellow Cheese gives 50 Norwegian kroner and says the master from the original Fallout might be my favorite from a combination of ideology, voice acting, and how much dialogue interesting he has. Well,
The master.
Shame he's got the same name as a Doctor Who villain, because that's the only one I can think of.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Do Skyrim have a bad guy? Is it just dragons?
I don't even know. I've never made
Yeah,
it
there's
that
like
far.
there's like a main dragon you kill at the end, isn't there?
Is that the one voiced by Mario? Or voiced by, what's his name? Charles Martinet?
Charles Martinet? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that
never-
is him, yeah.
One of them is voiced by him.
He goes, "It's me."
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, "Playing Stardew Valley first time to get prepped for Starstruck Vagabond, but I'm too blind. Any wrong way to play? Time limits, friendship goals, grind?" No, I wouldn't say there's a wrong way to play Starstruck Vagabond. The whole game's set up to be like, just do your thing, and wherever you go, there'll always be new things to do.
Love things. Things are great.
Love doing things.
Yellow Cheese gives 50 Norwegian kroner and says, "Also, the Enclave from Fallout 2 has some of the funniest interactions I've had in a game. Where is you power armor from the sergeant always gets me."
I feel like
Okay.
I feel like I'm always out of the loop when it comes to Fallout things. Because all I know about Fallout is the TV show, and I enjoyed the TV show. But I don't know.
Yeah,
anything else about Fallout.
I've played through Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, but I still don't really understand most of the references from Fallout 1
You
and
never
2.
played 1 and 2?
No, I never played 1 and 2. I think
Oh,
I started playing 1, but just sort of lost interest.
What about
I don't really
76?
like... Oh yeah, I played 76 for a time, and then stopped, as one does with live services.
Mm.
And they don't really go anywhere.
It's a live service.
Exactly.
That was a question.
Yeah, Fallout 76 famously was a live service that everybody hated.
Oh, I thought it was just like, here's like a tiny little single player, and then it's just always here.
No, they were trying to get on the crafting survival bandwagon.
Oh, dear God.
Anyway, Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Metal Sonic best rival, though dangerous and emotionless."
I like a nice Metal Sonic. I'll be
And
honest.
and first time you fight from Sonic 2, they don't give you any fucking rings,
No, not at all.
which is a pain in the ass.
What about the hand in Smash? Is that a villain?
Master Hand? Yeah, it's supposed to be like the hand. It's the hand of Sakurai, playing with all of his toys. Like a little
Sonic 2 is Mecha Sonic, not Metal Sonic.
Mecha Sonic
Oh.
is way different than Metal Sonic. You fucking
Oh.
doofus.
Forgive
You
me.
simpleton.
Oh,
You
well.
simpleton.
Apologies for not studying up on fucking deep Sonic lore before this.
Just
Uh,
Silent Hill, not Sonic. Oh.
Jules Rowe, member for 2 months in Tip Jar, thank you very much, and then says, "Maybe the bestest villain is yourself."
Dun dun dun.
Well,
I
yep,
agree.
you're your own worst enemy, as they say.
Especially if they're like good path, evil path. Like path of least resistance is the one I'm taking for the first run.
Fox D gives $5 and says, "Universal rule of fiction: killing Hitler equals worse outcome. Loophole: pull strings to get Hitler into art school with a scholarship." I think his problems were deeper seated than not getting into art school. Fox
He's
D.
also a
Yes.
vegan.
Yeah, like force feed him a few cheeseburgers,
That
like
might
letting him mellow him out a bit.
Put him on the right path.
Yeah. Mel Surrigan gives $10 and says, a robot named Fight has a lovely bad guy in the form of the Mega Beast. Instead of one PC bringing it down, it is implied that multiple heroes had to rally and bring it down, hence the roguelite.
Oh,
That's interesting.
I like that.
Well, there
I
you
like
go.
the name of the game, A Robot Named Fight. I think that's a good name for a game.
It's nice to see an actually interesting name in indie games these days.
We're running out of names.
They've been
I don't-
crazy this year.
people get that
Balatro,
name.
Taxi Goes Vroom, meme name, but still.
Yeah, those are the two names you remember.
Indica reminds me of weed.
Sativa. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you know.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for bringing the point across in an appropriate way.
What do
SP Rocks gives $5 and says, long-time viewer here. Just got my PC back from the repair shop, so I figured I'd celebrate with a small donation to my favorite podcast.
Oh, thanks,
Well,
SP Rocks.
Give a small donation to us, you bastard. We're the ones... Oh.
It's his favorite podcast. He
We're
went over
his
and
favorite.
He gave money to Marin.
Oh, we're his favorite podcast. Oh.
Joe Rogan Experience. Dan's undefeated.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, MST3K Second Wind Edition, new monthly funding goal. See, the thing about MST3K...
watch along.
MST3K was actually a very tightly scripted show.
Yes.
Probably a lot of work goes into making that. Because if you don't... It's very easy for that sort of thing to turn into some asshole talking over the film in the cinema. But
it wouldn't be some assholes. It would be us, the assholes.
Yeah. Us
The
being
assholes
assholes.
you know.
Us, comma, the assholes.
Us, comma, the asshole.
Yeah.
Jumbly Wobbly gives $5 and says, Yahtzee watches a film each month and reports to Darren. Put the funding goal up, Chief. We have a winner.
Every month.
I don't even know.
Now we're getting a little crazy.
He's going to put you through like Dune.
I don't even know where we'd slot that podcast in. I mean, we've already got a new one starting this week.
This Friday at noon, Devheads. Be there or get fucked.
Ooh, a podcast about game dev. I can't wait. Easy Cave gives $5 and says, does Arkham Game Joker count? Mark Hamill not limited by the children's cartoon format. Yeah, I'd say Joker in the Arkham games is a very good villain in video games.
Until the final fight. And
That's
it's just any other PlayStation bad guy.
It was a big hulking brute.
He just turns into a monster.
But aside from that, he was great.
I think it's sort of more justified than the Bioshock example, because at that point he had like the thing that turns people into monsters, and he just turned himself into one because he was just kind of bored at the end. He was like, fuck it. This feels like a very Agent of Chaos thing to do.
Yeah.
Laura gives $2 and says, I meant MGS4. Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
The Dogmatic Director gives $2 and says, on note of Starstruck Vagabond, any chance at a Dev Diary revival?
Yeah, Yahtzee, when are you going to make a game a month again, huh?
Yeah,
Come on.
Yahtzee, make
Been
some more
like
videos
3
for us,
years.
Yahtzee.
Come on,
We
Yahtzee,
want more
make games.
videos, Yahtzee.
Look, Semi-Ramblomatic, formerly Extra Punctuation, was the replacement for Dev Diary. I literally can't squeeze any more into my schedule. You sound like the fucking escapist CEOs right now.
Oh my god!
Saying, why couldn't he make 3 zero punctuations a week? What could possibly be stopping him from doing that?
He's got kids.
Besides-
Brilliant. We'll
besides-
train them.
Besides the need to sleep. I am actually probably going to guest on the Dev Heads podcast to talk about Starstruck Vagabond when it comes out.
There you
There you
go.
go.
So keep an eye out for that.
That'll be an honorary Dev Diary.
Jeremy Gola gives $5 and says, to quote an old demotivational poster, just because you are unique does not mean you are useful. Well,
I'm here to be entertained, not to, find new ways to open eggs, really.
Jeremy Gola, I bet you're one of those people who goes around modern art galleries going, my kid could have done that.
Could have well done.
Things don't have to be useful to be worth having,
Well, they were standing up for you for the not needing to have a top 5 unique games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I talk shit anyway. It's my thing.
My brand.
Robo Knob the Snob gives €10 and says, not afraid Bloober Team might create an awful origin story for Pyramid Head, like revealing he's actually an Egyptian architect so passionate about his job that he carries on his duty of creating tombs.
I'd love that. I really would.
I
give him the Maleficent treatment of like, oh, you know, she's traumatized.
Cruella may have killed 100 dogs, but
yeah, it's always fucking trauma, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Trauma again. Tsunami Dusha gives $20. Says, greetings, gentlemen. Yahtzee, I've heard you talk about Pyramid Head and Silent Hill 2 for decades, including your Silent Hill 2's EP. Are you ever going to completely deconstruct Pyramid Head for us in entirety, or have an essay you'd co-sign?
Yeah, UNH
the
Bomber
thing
guy,
is,
the big.
people have been writing essays about Silent Hill 2 for decades. I would really just be adding to the noise at this point. I don't think I'd have any particularly unique insights in that area.
There are a handful of games where it
like,
just feels like everything that's been said about them has been said.
Oh, Toffee thinks my hand is tasty.
Ayo.
Have Toffee write the essay. What is Toffee's thoughts on Pyramid Head?
He thinks that everyone should join our Patreon so he can have more food in his tummy.
Incredible.
Can't you tell?
You calling your dog fat?
He is, actually. We've had to cut down his food because he was putting on the pounds.
Oh, yeah, Toffee.
And because the kids keep throwing discarded sandwich crusts at him.
Oh, that'll do you.
And we tell them to stop, but they keep doing it because it's fun to watch Toffee eating their food, I guess. Sirkai25 gives $10 and says, not related to the topic, but I just wanted to thank Yahtzee for his latest book. Great wrap up to the series and quite the surprise ending.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you want to get in on that conversation, you'll have to buy it yourself from audible.com.
I hope it's like you, reader, were the bad guy the whole time.
Error Zero gives $5 and says, I want more comedy villains like Volkov from No One Lives Forever 2. He's in a freaking wheelchair and he's so much fun.
Comedy villain. See, I'm trying to bring up villains that aren't from the bloody PlayStation 1 and 2.
What an era. What an era. I don't remember Volkov.
No, I never played No One Lives Forever 2. Which is funny because I really liked No One Lives Forever 1.
Shoot.
I don't know if I ever played 2 either. I think about it.
And now you can't play those games. They're in like abandonware ownership hell.
Fucking what a terrible situation to be in.
Doran Grossman Naples gives $5 and says, Lady D has a cut voice line where she says, good girl. And I think that's why people like her.
Yeah.
Big pale mama. Oh, yeah.
Big pale mama.
PMA Stripolito, member for 3 months in the Green Gang, says, Spiritfarer, the villain is tear ducts. There's no villain in Spiritfarer. It's just everyone moving on and having a nice time.
Just sad.
Death, the true villain, comes for all of us.
It wasn't really a villain, though. It was just sort of like the inevitable moving on of things.
Sure.
Entropy, as in other words.
There you go.
It's nice Dark Souls.
Oh,
yeah. The two sides of entropy. On the one side, there's Dark Souls. On the other side, there's Spiritfarer.
There you go.
Brick in the Head gives $5 and says, if none of the insects in chat have mentioned her yet, Shodan, God, the title suits her well.
Shodan.
Funny kind of God can't even fix their own fucking speech impediment.
Oh, no.
Shodan. I don't know anything about Shodan.
Are you talking System Shock?
Yeah, I believe so.
And System Shock 2. She was better in System Shock 2, I'll say.
Oh, she's in both of them?
Yep. Well, I guess that's kind of a spoiler, actually.
They're all,
yeah.
That's fine.
Gail Donisic, member for 5 months in Tip Jar. Thank you very much. Fungus Finder gives $2 and says, did you all actually mention GLaDOS? She's in the pic. Yeah, we did eventually.
Fungus Finder. Get those fucking mushrooms out of your ear.
Dear God, I'm going through a list of like top video game villains of all time, and I don't think there's any from like even remotely recent. You got Bowser, Ganon, Robotnik, Sephiroth, Kefka, GLaDOS, Vaz, Albert Wesker, Handsome Jack, Michael Bell, that's Red Dead, Ridley, General Shepard.
I guess we didn't talk about Rockstar.
And Dr. Wily and Lavos.
Do we think
I wanna
Rockstar does villains well?
Well,
They did in Bully.
Rockstar does good characters generally, I'd say. But again, in a lot of their games, it's just the villain is society.
Yeah, I like a Dutch and a Micah in Red Dead 2.
Yeah, Dutch and Red Dead's a pretty good villain.
Yeah, Arthur. That was my
Anyway.
Dutch impression, saying the name Arthur.
Yes, it was very good.
Thank you.
D Silver 369 gives €2. Oh, hang on. Wizard of the Void gives $20 and says, "Just joined. Really looking forward to Starstruck Vagabond. Here's some for future games wish list, everyone." As you should be looking forward to Starstruck Vagabond, Wizard of the Void. It's coming out very soon, and it will be very tight, and will have had all its bugs fixed. Probably.
You saying, "Oh God, he's Sean Murray," and don't
He's
tell
Sean
people.
Murray.
Well, the last thing you want to do is Sean Murray. Well, the last thing you want to do is Yandere Dev, but Sean Murray's pretty high up there with the last things you should do.
Yandere, Sean Murray.
I don't know. It
Peter
ended up fine for
Molyneux.
Sean Murray now, and he got to do it again. He got to run it back.
Because he didn't want to get shot whenever he was out in public. He's like, I'll fix it.
Yeah, D Silver 369 gives €2. Says Maruki best Persona villain. R.I.P. Billy Kametz.
Yeah, the voice actor passed away. That was the villain I was talking about in Persona 5. I didn't do spoilers.
That's a shame. Pranic Lift gives $5. Says Carmen Sandiego somehow stole like every major world landmark and throughout history via time travel with style.
What a
Do you think that's how Pyramid Head got his Pyramid Head?
Oh, Christ. Yeah, it was actually her child, and somehow it got fused.
Pyramid Head isn't even like proportioned like a classic pyramid. That's one of the many intriguing things about him.
Yeah, but that's because a bunch of it's under the sand. If you dug it up, it'd look like that.
No, it's like a weird right-angled triangle pyramid. Pyramid Head's got
an isosceles. I gotcha.
Favorite philosopher.
Isosceles is just like not equilateral, right?
I don't. You asking me?
It's a good Tom Cruise movie.
Is it isosceles if every side is a different length, or is it only isosceles if two sides are the same length?
I swear isosceles was like two corners of 30. No, hold on. 180.
There's no way to know. Like mathematicians are still arms debating what an isosceles triangle is.
Isosceles triangle is a triangle that has two sides of equal length. Sometimes it is specified as having exactly two sides of equal length. Yes.
So what's the classification for triangles where every length is a different side? It's different size.
Triangle?
Who the fuck knows?
Kinds of triangles. I spelled triangles wrong. There's acute, obtuse, right, isosceles, equilateral, and scalene. No one ever gives any fucking credit to scalene.
Oh, no one remember scalene. What's a scalene then?
Out here just working hard every day. That's what scalene's up to.
On that grind.
Scalene is obtuse angled triangle. I don't know anything about this. When none of the sides of the triangle are equal.
Right. Okay, so that's what I meant.
There you go.
Every side is a different sides. There you go. Oh, so a right-angled triangle can be right-angled and scalene.
The wonders of geometry.
I don't get it.
Oh boy, a whole bunch more just showed up. Seno is 199 and says, "Frost, what happened to Better with Friends?"
Yeah, rescheduling. Keep an eye out.
Eric Weikart comes back with 50 arses and says, "Inscription, a recent enough game for a villain? The one that helps you ends being the villain and literally changes the whole game twice?"
He's like a big old shadow, but every time I hear something about Inscription, I wonder if I actually beat the game. Like there's because he's got more and more all the time.
He's got more. He was good, but like I don't think it's not one of those villains that's like entered sort of the pop culture lexicon in the way that all those villains that Frost named on that list. Like,
no,
who would be big enough to be on that list
nowadays? No. It's just old IP,
old ips.
Gildon Yetic gives $10 and says, "I like the idea of video game villains who don't just wait around for the player to kill them. While that's very accessible to players, I like immersion, and this seems like an unproductive life goal." Yeah, I always think of Zelda Majora's Mask. I mean, the fact that it's on a timer. They're not just gonna hang around in the final boss arena waiting for your dumb ass. If you just piss about for 3 days, that moon's fucking hitting the earth.
Jesus, I like that.
Eddie from Outer Space gives €5 and says the xenomorph in Alien Isolation is worth mentioning, though not as humorous, but the more terrifying. GG on your 6-month anniversary.
Hey,
Thank you.
I don't know, it's hard to
Xenomorph.
classify like a mindless, like animal villain as like
Yeah.
a villain.
Sure.
It's just sort of like a environmental hazard, really.
Yeah. They're spooky though.
Yeah, they certainly are. Tsunami Dusha gives $5 and says, great villain, Huey from the MGS series. Your villain friend that lies to themselves that they are innocent. Yeah, it's interesting what they did with him, because of course in the first game he's in Peace Walker, he's basically just the Otacon stand-in, the way
Mhm.
Naked Snake is the Solid Snake stand-in in that game.
Yeah.
But then in like Metal Gear Solid 5, Huey just has this whole arc where it turns out he's a cowardly asshole who kills people to further his goals and refuses to admit wrongdoing.
That being said, Naked Snake's not doing a great job on his own. He's
Why
out
is he
here.
called
He's out here
Naked
wilding
Snake?
out. Why they call him Naked Snake?
Why is he naked?
Oh, because I
Well,
think he was dropped behind enemy lines in.
Yeah, he was
Without
Naked
any
Snake in
help.
3, and then he was Big Boss. And
See,
then
they
he
always
was,
change
Venom
their
Snake and
names.
Punished Snake, right?
yes, Venom Snake and Punished Snake being distinct in some way.
And one of them not even actually being him, just being the dude. who
Spoilers!
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 What?
Sounded like
It
I'm
is impossible to spoil Metal Gear because none of it makes sense.
Okay,
I
fine.
love it, and none of it makes sense. What a game!
CZK gives 120 somethings. Oh no, wait. II gives 120 CZKs and says, will somebody from Second Wind be reviewing Starstruck Vagabond? Will it be Yen Katsi Brochure, perchance? Well, I can't review the game. I made it. I'd like literally know everything that happens in it. It would be
You could
pointless.
disassociate. Then it should be an
Yeah.
easy review for you to write.
We're gonna
You can
get
play it.
John Romero to review it in his stead.
There you
I
go.
know Nick's was like half serious when he said that.
It should have been full series.
John Romero's
That is a
busy.
travesty.
I'm sure John Romero has better things to do. I don't know. Maybe you could review it, Marty.
In your best
Does it play-
Yahtzee
Is
voice.
it on Switch?
No, I mean maybe if it's really popular and I can like partner with a publisher who knows how to port things to Switch.
You just copy paste, I think.
Yeah. Right click, save as
right there.
.switch.
Yeah. You should
someone
hold
will
a
know.
sweepstakes. The best Yahtzee-esque review of Starstruck Vagabond gets put on the channel.
Because there'll be a few on YouTube pretty fucking quick.
Certainly.
Todd says, "Imagine if the Escapists review it. That would be a very well performing video." If any of our friends still at the Escapists, you should review the game. I think that video would perform very well.
Yeah, not to, give advice to a rival content creator or anything, but yeah, that would probably do pretty well
Y'all
for you.
can try.
The Brain Sturgeon gives €6. Says the true villain were the friends we made on the way. Seriously, Kane in Soul Reaver, tragic, Shakespearean, but he became playable in Legacy of Kane Defiance.
There
He
you
was
go.
playable in the very first Legacy of Kane game.
Oh, brother, hold up. You just my mind. Moonscars. All right, so spoilers because none of you guys are gonna play it because you're babies. You are set. The villain is the real version of you. You are the clay clone, essentially. And yeah, it's throwing you off because there's other clay clones of you around the place, and you feel like you're hunting the rogues, but no, you're the only one with a conscience.
So you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Sixth Day.
Yeah, kind of like that, without the accent.
Yeah.
When was
Did
the
not
last time
expect
you
a
saw that
6-day
movie?
Did not expect a 6-day drop. Holy moly!
I think I watched it when it was showed on TV like ages and ages ago.
Right. But yeah, no, that was a really cool twist. You end up getting there and you're just like, finally, the baddest clone. It's like, no, you're the clone.
Oh no.
I think I said neither of you are gonna play it because you're babies, which is true.
No, not just
Yeah.
you two, everyone else here.
A lot of babies here.
Yeah.
John Brooks gives £10 and says, most annoying villain in games these days, day one patch or update which crashes your saved playthrough. Looking at you, Creative Assembly. Looking forward to Starstruck.
Yeah, what's to be expected in the day one patch? Fishing game?
I'm going to change the little number on the title screen to 1.00 rather than whatever it is now.
Call it a day fun patch.
Yeah,
Think about
I'm
it.
gonna have to start a whole new playthrough.
Spicy.bp gives $5 and says, I want Frost to do a FR style review on Starstruck Vagabond.
That's difficult because like we've got different cadences. Like, you have a very you can make yours really dense. For so many words. That was the mistake I did. I'm gonna tell people this when we first came through here and they were asking me for video series. And I was like, I don't know how people write. So I go to Yahtzee's scripts because the old Escapist website used to have the transcripts. I was like, how many words are his average? He put so many goddamn words into 5 minutes that I accidentally made that the standard. So that's why mine are 8 minutes. Because it's the same amount of words. He just talks so much faster than just anyone.
How many words is it an average of my reviews, incidentally?
Yours average like around like 1,500 thereabouts.
Huh.
Depends on what
There
kind of
you go.
mood you're in. You're very good with like
Right.
stacking little tiny words, but also sometimes you get some big ones.
That's what she said.
Hey,
Well, anyway,
He's talking about his pee-pee.
that's the last super chat, so we might as well wrap things up. Thank you
I'm so
for
proud of
listening.
us.
Thank you for listening to the Windbreaker podcast. And if you've been around since the beginning, thank you very much for sticking with us for 6 entire months.
Oh my
6
gosh.
whole 30-day segments of the year. Who would have thought we'd be here after so many months doing basically the same podcast we were doing right after we started doing Second Wind?
Seemed like an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Seemed like it made sense. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I was Yahtzee. I was joined by Marty and Frost. Now comes the Plugathon. Don't miss Fully Ramblematic this week. It's going to be on Helldivers 2. And yes, I did have to make a little edit to it over the weekend after recent news events. So there's that. I've got a semi-Ramblematic dropping this week. I know, because I need to write another one.
no
And of
villains.
course, Yahtzee Tries will be streaming on Wednesday afternoon at the usual time. I think that's it from me. Frost, plug more things.
We've got a brand new cold take talking about the old DLC bait and switch from Tarkov. Oh, the silly man. It's very negative hype, very just factual and actual. And I get a little sand garden in the back. I don't know how people use that. I've lost half the sand since I've gotten that thing.
Where did it go?
What do you mean? Everywhere. Like you barely move it and it just goes flying.
It just falls off the table.
Yeah,
You gotta buy more sand.
apparently so.
Sand's
Maybe I'll get a
free. If
bigger
you like
one.
go to parks and whatnot, you can get a bunch of free sand. Beaches,
Yeah.
tons of free sand.
Although you'll get some funny looks.
I'm so
You go to like a
landlocked.
children's play area and just push a couple of
Just
toddlers
start-
aside and
Start putting some sand in your pockets and run away.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no sand here. I'm so landlocked. We've got gravel, big bits of gravel. They're just
Have a little
rocks.
gravel garden then. That sounds
Yeah.
nice.
you
So
can probably order some like sand online or something.
Yeah, sand.org. It's a nonprofit.
Order some like Gamer Girl sand from that they have in
Ooh.
their Gamer Girl sandboxes.
my favorite. Yeah, so there's that. And as far as streams go, next one, we've got some shoot the shit coming through. Keep your eyes out, as I said, for Better with Friends. Not we're in the I'm spoiling. No, retracting everything. And it never
Don't
happened.
keep your eyes out. Fucking forget
Marty,
said
what do we
anything.
have here? Don't
Okay.
keep your eyes
Oh my
out.
god. Bleh. Later this evening, 6 p.m., the Hot Monday Energy crew are going to be back playing Lisfanga. I think it's maybe has something to do with the time loop. I don't know. I've not-
Oh yes, I played that. It is
Yeah.
it is a time loop game that integrates time loops into moment-to-moment combat.
Well, that's cool. Check that out. Darren will have a new backdrop tomorrow on why the live action Disney remakes feel so lifeless compared to their original counterparts. Speaking of a lot of those aforementioned villains from earlier in the stream.
Yeah, and bring up gay-coded villains as well while you're at
Yeah.
it.
I'm sure he's Darren covered. I'm sure he dotted all of his I's and crossed every T. Thursday, you're gonna have a semi-randomatic, right?
Yes,
Excellent.
it's going to be on the subject of. Fuck, I've forgotten what I wrote like 2 weeks ago. Probably something jolly interesting.
What was it? Yeah, I fucking read it, and I was like, "It's good."
What?
I think my one note was
oh.
like, "You used the same word twice." That was my
Oh,
only
it-
note.
Oh, it's about yellow paint ledges and platform.
Oh
the
yeah, that was
evolution-
it.
The evolution of platforming in video games.
The thing is, you write these things a while ago.
Yeah.
And then Matt's editing them, and we just forget these things exist.
Well, blame Matt, because he asked me to turn the transcripts in earlier so we could have more time to work on the videos.
You know what? Matt is fucking perfect, and I would never blame him. The hero of Australia. Friday will be, obviously, like we mentioned before, Design Delve, and at Friday at noon will be the premiere of Dev Heads, the new podcast that Jimmy is hosting with new friends to the channel, Tina and Mikey. And then later this week, I'll have my first little bite-sized review on a game called Animal Well, which is the first game published by Donkey's new publishing label, Big Mode.
That's the game I'm probably going to spend most of this afternoon playing, actually.
If you need any questions.
If you have questions,
if you have questions,
please have questions.
Please have questions. We just want to talk about the game. Yeah. The end.
All right. Well, that's it then. Thanks for all your super chat. So we did. There's always one, isn't there? Fungus Finder gives $2 and says, Nick in First Class Trouble is best villain. Isn't he just? I mean, he's got the sinister laugh down, Pat.
Yeah,
he really does.
I do enjoy a nice villainous gremlin. Yeah.
Oh, and Fungus Finder comes back with another $2 and says, Happy 6-month Jusant stream. But is it a hidden gem? We'll never know.
Still there.
Longest stream of my life.
Incredible.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.